Welcome to Garden Sanity. I'm Laura, and today's video is how to prune a gold mop cypress. Whether you have a well-behaved gold mop cypress or you have a beast like mine that definitely needs to be tidied up. Is pruning really necessary? Not really. In fact, most people buy gold mop cypresses for their natural shape and size. If you see, it sort of weeps. Sometimes people call this a gold thread cypress. The needles are sort of thread-like, and it's meant to look shaggy, spindly, moppy. It's not meant to look neat and tidy. Usually I'll do a little bit of tidying up if necessary. However, the past few years, by the time I got around to doing this, the birds made nests in here. Little cute, adorable little brown birds. I'm not sure what kind they are, but as much as I kind of detest rabbits and stuff, I do love wildlife, and I'm not going to interrupt the birds. So this has not been touched in probably 2 or 3 seasons. I would guess 3 seasons. It's about a 10-year-old shrub. When we planted it, it was the typical size you see from the nurseries. And in fact, the other ones around the property that we have both in the front yard and background are still around that size, maybe a little bit bigger. But this one hasn't been touched. It's obviously very happy in its spot, and it's grown huge. This is pretty big. However, it's not overgrown. Most tags that you'll see on gold mop cypresses, and this is a King's Gold variety, but on just about any variety you'll see, they'll say that the mature growing size is 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. It's very slow growing. So if you're like me and you have some of these, they might still be very short, very small. But this one, it's happy in its spot, obviously, and it's growing more to what the size is in nature, in its natural environment, so to speak. These can grow up to 6-7 feet tall over time, and maybe that's over 15 years. But as you can see, I'm almost 5 feet tall, and you can see that some of the top things are a little bit taller than me. So to prune this, I'm going to take it slowly. I'm going to do it by hand, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm going to start with these top branches here. Try to take the height down just a little bit, and then I'm going to come in at the sides a little bit and take that down. But I'll show you an easy way to do it so that you're not spending hours at this. So there's 2 ways to prune gold mop cypresses. I call it the bad way and the good way. Here we go. The bad way, in my opinion, is to use hedge shears, whether it's electric or manual, although manual would probably drive you'd have to have good arm strength for that. But you know those electric hedgers? I have them too. Everybody has them, where you just kind of make that sound again, and you just sort of go over the shrub. Now, there are a lot of videos on YouTube that show that. There are a lot of landscapers that do it that way. I just question why. Because when you bought this shrub at the nursery or garden center, you bought it because you said, how cute is this with the thread-like foliage? How cute is this? It's all kind of moppy. Some people say it looks like a cousin It or something, if you're familiar with the Addams Family. It's beautiful as is. It's natural. This is how it grows in nature. So I'm not a fan of doing the bowling ball shape shrubs. I'm just not. So if you do use a hedge trimmer and you shear it, what you're going to do is you're going to take off all this nice growth. And yes, it'll be a nice little ball for you, and it'll be an easy way to shape it, but you're going to have to wait quite a long time for all of this to grow back and actually look more natural and pretty. So my way is the easy way, and I use hand pruners, little bypass pruners that I have, and I'll show you those in a minute. And my way to do it is just to do it branch by branch. And I'm not saying that I'm going to take every single branch on this beast of a shrub and prune it back, but I'm going to selectively take certain branches, for example, these tall ones here. And what I'm going to do, in a nutshell, is I'm going to cut them down into the shrub so you don't see the cut. I'll bring you closer so you can see what I'm talking about. So here are the supplies you need. A bucket or garbage bag, some bypass pruners or loppers, hand ones are preferred, some gloves, just to keep your hands clean. This shrub is actually not sharp at all. And I'm going to tell you, have some water at the ready. I'm going to try to talk about that more and more, because you know, it's good to stay hydrated. Even if it's like today, it's only about 48 degrees out, it's a good thing to stay hydrated while you're working outside. So I'm going to first use this branch as an example. And I'll move around some of this other stuff so you can see. So this branch goes pretty far back, but it's this part that's sticking out. Now, if I was just to clip this top part out, well, that's not doing anything for the rest of this shrub. And in fact, what I'm doing is I'm taking off the newest growth. And that's not really what you want to do, because it's just going to keep growing back from the ends. What you want to do, the easy way, is go back into the shrub, find a little area where you've got other greenery starting. Now right here, which is probably hard to see, but I'll point at it with my pruners, there's a little bit of growth right there. So I'm going to prune this right above that growth. I take that off, and there's other growth for it to continue growing. But all of a sudden now, I've taken off this overgrown part, and it's just slightly better. I've got a ways to go. Now for the height, it's a similar thing. These seem to be the two tallest stems that are coming up. I'm going to go back down into this a little bit. And again, I'll try to move some of this so you can see. So what I'm doing is I'm going down, and as long as I see new growth that's coming in here, I know that it's going to continue growing. I don't want to cut so far down into the stem where there's no new growth that I may actually just kill off that stem. You don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in similar to what I just showed you, and I'm going to find a little stem that's growing out, one or two, and I'm going to prune just above that. That's going to sound very similar to how I prune some of my other shrubs if you've been following my videos. You always want to find some new growth and prune just above that to encourage that new growth to then become fuller and grow. So I've taken that down, and you don't see where I made the cut. And that's another reason why I like to go down into the shrub, is then you don't see the cuts, and the shrub continues to look natural, just smaller. So now I'm going to show you how I trim a little bit more close up this other stem that's sticking straight up, so I can reduce the height in an easy way. This also gives you a chance to just see against my gloves just how thready and moppy these are. They're just so pretty, and they stay this color year-round, especially if you keep them in full sun. It's really good. They can take a little bit of shade, but best color is in full sun. Okay, so you see this, it's a long stem, and I'm going to go down again. And you don't want to look at the growth on these branches because they may come off. What you're looking for is you're looking for growth on the main stem. That's what you're looking for. So I'm going down a little bit further. Okay, let's see here. So I'm going down a little bit further, and I see there's some growth way down here. So I'm going to do it, and I don't know if you're actually going to be able to see it. There's a little bit of brown there, but there is some green right here. So I'm going to go right here with my pruners, and I'm going to lob that off. And there's the cut. So you see where that white is? That's the cut. But as you can see, it's basically going to be covered by the rest of the shrub. And I've already reduced the height. I'd say that's a good 6 inches right there. And these shrubs do grow at the most about 6 inches a year. They're very slow growing, so on average it's usually a couple inches. It's not that noticeable when they're small, but when you start seeing it get this big, you can really tell. So here you can see where I made the cut, and I also want you to see the little green that's coming out from the main stem. And that's why I know it'll continue growing from there over time. Okay, so cue the geese that are flying over right as we speak. All right, I'm just gonna wait. I just had a flock of geese fly over, and all I kept saying as I was looking up is, please don't poop on me. Anyway, this is the back of the Gold Mop Cypress. Depending on how you're looking at it, this could also be considered the front, because this is what we see from inside our home. So this is the back, and I just wanted you to see the back is pretty good. There's not too much I need to trim off the bottom. I like to keep the edge of the pavers there a little bit visible. But it's mostly the sides and the top that I'm going to trim up. I like its natural state. We just need to tidy it up a bit. So that's it. I'm all done. I like the size and shape of it. It's still moppy, and it still has a natural look to it, but it's a lot tidier. It's a very clean shrub to have next to the patio. We really like it a lot. It doesn't really shed its needles to the point where you have to do any kind of major cleanup anytime during the year, which is really nice. You will see a little bit more green poking through the yellow color, and that's because that's the newer growth that hadn't gotten as much sun so far. So there you have it. Two more things I want to mention. When you're done with any pruning project, whether you're using your hand pruners or longer loppers, make sure you disinfect the blades. I use rubbing alcohol. Wipe them down, leave them out to dry, and that way, just in case there's any ickiness, any disease, you don't want to bring it from one shrub to your next pruning project. You want to just contain everything within each pruning project. So, don't forget to disinfect your pruners. The second thing I want to talk about is fertilizer. All types of Gold Mop Cypress, and again, this is a King's Gold Mop Cypress, love acid soil. So you want to add some slow-release organic acid fertilizer like Hollytone. Put it around the perimeter of the shrub, water it in if you're not going to get any rain anytime soon, and that's all you have to do. It will encourage the shrub to grow and be fresh for the upcoming season. Mid-March is the perfect time to do it. Any time in spring is actually the perfect time to do it. So that's how to prune your Gold Mop Cypress the easy way. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, leave them below in the comments. I'll be sure to answer. And until next time, happy gardening.